All right, good evening, and thank you for everyone coming out tonight. We have something that's a treat for you. I often talk about how we're working with women and understanding that the woman is powerful. She has so many ideas, so many aspirations, so many gifts, so many talents, so many capes, layers and layers of capes. And we continue with those capes even though we're doing excellent work. We're moving out into the world and we're raising our children, we're building up communities, businesses that we've had gifts from long ago that we're working in our passion, but we're not dealing with some things that I often see in the classes that I teach. And those baggages or those heavy weights and those triggers and those traumas and those inner things that we just kind of tuck away because we have all these capes on to be excellent. And we don't deal with those, and that crossroad kind of comes when we get home. We don't see what our faces look like when we're home. We don't know what you went through, but you're smiling here today. I want to dig a little deeper and help you to understand in order to be in your excellence and to really work in your fullest potential, you need to know your identity. You need to understand who you really are. And with that, when things come, they won't shake you. Life brings all kinds of things as we come along, and all we say is, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna make it today, and we press a little further, but you can. There's solutions, there's answers, just like there's funding, just like there's partnerships and what we do in entrepreneurship. There's things for you as an individual you need to understand and grab a hold of. I wanna have a conversation tonight with Dr. Stephanie Kirkland, who I have known for almost 15 years. This woman changed my life. I wouldn't be standing here before you, even speaking to you about things, but it's what I've been through. She taught me how to take a hold of what and who I am and know that it's okay to be me and to really propel outward. I had to take a leap of faith. And she said, no, I need you to have some structure with that faith. I said, 6 a.m. in the morning? Really? Every morning? Have your own commitment. You say, my word is my bond. How about committing to yourself first? Then I can be whatever I need to be to somebody else because I met me first. So something about that excellence and operating in excellence, she taught us. I have people that I've met those same times in them same classrooms. They know what I'm talking about. And that resonated for me to say, I've got to reach back to someone else and pull them forward. I can't leave anybody in that space and just get there myself. So in this work, I just found myself growing and blossoming, remembering the things that she taught me. Those are the things I want you guys to hear about tonight. So Stephanie, I'd like you to just tell us of the things you have. I just want to let her know that I love her. I appreciate her. She is traveling, I say the world. She is a giant. I remember when we met, she didn't even have her doctorate. I mean, she is Dr. Stephanie Kirkland. I said, okay, girl, I got some work to do. But she inspires me and she allows me to inspire her. We sow into each other in such a way, and we have long-term relationships. Someone said when I was having a class, I'm not here for sisterhood. Oh, that kind of hurt me. Because I said, that's exactly why we should be here. We should be a strength for one another. Whatever I'm weak in, you're strong in. Why not band together? You can't do this by yourself. You shouldn't have to. We need to be able to open enough to trust each other enough to know that if you tag me, I'm gonna help you get where you have to go, and you're gonna take me with you. And then we get to the next one. I got somebody, I'm a connector. I got somebody for you. Connect to somebody tonight. But that's what we do. There's nothing I have to hold to myself. If I know it, you should know it. And what God has for me is for me. What he has for you is for you. So in all that we've been taught, the fact that I'm standing before you is a testimony in itself. I'm excited about the new ventures. I am an executive business strategist. I'm excellent at what I do, and I can stand in my own right. I said that I can move forward to those things that God said I can have. And I don't have to ask anybody's permission because I am understanding and knowing what my own identity is. So I'm going to call up to you, introducing to some and those who already know, Dr. Stephanie Kirkland. Please give her a hand. Stephanie.
Yes.
So what is some of the things you feel that we need to understand when you say purchase this book? What is it you want them, if you gave it in 3 words, what they're supposed to be getting from?
The book, it represents transformation. It represents authenticity. And it really does represent you being able to answer the question, who am I really? Those are the three things that you get from the book. And my heart's desire was, because I do a lot of programs and things of that nature, and a lot of people need some type of first step. And so I was like, well, what could be a great first step for people to be introduced to the conversation of identity? Because usually we as women, what are we taught? We're taught roles and responsibilities pretty much as our identity. And nobody has really ever said to us, but who are you really, right? I always say, have you ever, and all of us have done it, you've gone into a meeting, you've gone into a networking event,
right.
And the first thing they say to you is, well, tell me about yourself. And what do? We say what? Roles and responsibilities. But that's not who you are.
Right.
That's what you do. And so the conversation became just out of my own journey of really understanding I'm not my roles, I'm not my responsibilities. You know, I do a lot of things, right? I mean, that's part of my testimony.
Right.
I do a lot of things, and I got to the point where I was like, there's got to be more to this. This is not purpose. I mean, I really said, this is not purpose. Me being good at roles and responsibilities is not purpose. And I remember being frustrated, and I remember being burnt out because I was wife, mother, entrepreneur, choir director, you know, Bible study teacher,
usher boy,
usher when nobody came to church. I was doing all of those things because guess what? We were taught how to do them and do it well. But then I was like, you know what? This can't be it, y'all. I mean, like, God, is this purpose?
Yeah.
This not purpose. Yeah. This is a skill set. But this isn't purpose. And I remember watching TV.
Yeah.
And y'all know how you watch a good TV show, and after it's over, and you be the only one in the room, and you go, that was good. That was so good. And I remember watching, and the story was Noah and the Ark. The woman was teaching on Noah. And I remember hearing in my heart, so if you could only say one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Right.
I was like,
that's a good question.
Now, see, I forgot that I'd been crying and farting and praying and trying to find myself. I forgot all about that.
Well,
you know, y'all know, don't talk. You know. You know. And then I remember, you know how you kind of dismiss it because it kind of scares you? And I dismissed it, you know. And then a couple of days later, I heard it again. So, if you could only say one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? And then I was like, And I started crying. And I was like, I don't know.
Right. That's a scary place.
I don't know what I would say.
Yeah.
I say a lot. I do a lot. And that's how my journey around really, who am I really?
Right.
Not what I was groomed to be, not what I was taught to be, but what am I supposed to be bringing to the world? Because I truly believe I have something to deposit. Yeah. And it just can't be roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, I think it's so much deeper. That's why it's a deep dive with this. When we talk about the book, it's not just another book to get. She really has taken the time through your lessons and her experience and the work she's done with all of these women throughout these years and placed it in a place where you can take step by step. It really will take you through that process that makes you ask those questions and understand it's a deeper purpose to me. I'm not just a wife. I'm not just a mom. Really, I'm more than that. And that can open up a whole, new avenue for you when you walk outside your doors and say, I'm more than this. I'm determined to find out what that is. What is kind of the first step in the book that you think you would want them or it's outlined for them to do?
Well, the first step, really, I tell everybody, and you know how you usually skip the preface and you skip the introduction and you just get right to the juice. I'm like, and I put it under the table of contents. Do not skip the introduction and the preface. I need you to read it because I'm introducing something that people don't have as a concept of understanding. So the introduction, I tell people, do it because I want to tell you why I'm saying this. I want to tell you what identity-centered leadership is. I want you to be able to really just examine your understanding of this concept. So really you start with the preface and you start with the introduction, because I'm really introducing to you a new way of thinking. I see myself as a capacity builder. You know, some people say, well, are you, you know, you do coaching? Yes, but I'm considered an instructional coach. I'm not just a coach that sits and listens to you tell me, and then I just ask you a bunch of questions. So now what do you want to do now? And then what do you want to do? And how does that feel? And now how would you, you know, an instructional coach, because of the work that I have done for the last 10 years, especially with Black women and women of color, is not that we're not skilled. It's not that we're not powerhouses. The issue is really capacity, because we don't have language for what we are experiencing. We don't have ways of engaging with the conversation around what we know we are experiencing. And so I consider myself an instructional coach, meaning not only do we talk about what it is that you want to talk about, but my responsibility is to help you build capacity. And that capacity is so that you can ask the right questions. Because if you don't have capacity, all you're doing is going in a circle.
Right, round and round.
So you need information to build you out so that you can process on a deeper level. So usually I tell people, please start with the introduction. I'm introducing concepts and understandings. But then lesson number one, people say lesson number one just knock you in your head, right? But lesson number one is the room is crooked.
How about that?
How do you deal with environmental narratives that are scripted around your life, right? And then what are you going to do about it? And I usually have, you know, when you look through the book, there's one of the women who've been through programs that I've done over the years. You'll see Desiree right here. She's number 12, y'all. She's the self-care chapter. Yes. But each chapter you have a lesson. You're looking at someone's journey with that lesson. So the room is crooked. And so you're hearing this woman's journey around the room being crooked. But then I tell you and reflect on my experience with her lesson.
Right.
And most people don't do that because I'm trying to teach you how to reflect. Everything in the book is about capacity and about building you out. I do not believe in grooming people to be dependent on me.
That's good.
I want to position you to be independent of me.
Right.
You should never have to come back if you don't want to. Seriously, that is my job, to make you independent, to walk out your journey the way you need to give you the tools to walk out your journey. And so I reflect on her story. And so I'm telling you, and I really reflect on every story. So I give you my journey with every lesson, because the lessons are what shifted my life. And so after I reflect on that, then we start talking about the capacity part, right? And I use books, I use literature, I use movies, I use poetry, I use all of those different things to have conversations with you about how do you shift that.
Right.
And then we have what's called the identity plan. And so this is those lessons and things that you now have to intentionally do on purpose with your writing, not with your imagination, like seriously, where you have to now answer these questions. And so the first question I ask, so what is your reflection of the story? Because every one of us have done, I know every hand's going up. All of us in this room have dealt with the room being crooked.
Come on.
It's like, it's not for you, it's for whoever built it.
That's right.
And if you know that going in, and it's based on a psychological study where the psychologists were trying to see what people would actually do if a room was actually crooked. Would they actually conform to the room being crooked, or would they find their own center? And the study showed that some people lean to the crookedness of the room, and some people align themselves to their own center.
Right. That's powerful.
That's beast, right?
Powerful.
And so I'm actually now talking about this conversation of what it is that this looks like. And so then you get to see some research, because I love to, I'll pull research in so that you can build your own capacity around the conversation. And, and the quotes are just, powerhouse quotes. But this one is like, women have actually bent and moved themselves and shifted themselves to fit rooms that weren't even built for them.
Yeah.
And they have not learned how to find their own center.
And that's good. That's good. Because I think every one of us in here, that's the part that I want you guys to kind of hone in on. what curve or what are you doing that's outside of your own identity, of what your purpose of drive is. This book in itself, as she's going from lesson to lesson, do the work that helps you to build that capacity. Really talk truth. You know, be honest with it, because I think a part of the challenge, wouldn't it be that they don't close the book and they'd be afraid to do the work around it? What would you encourage them if they're just saying, whoa, this is too much. I didn't realize how curved I am with this room.
Right.
I'm gonna really have to realign, and I don't even have the time to really capacity to even do this work they asked me to do. What would you encourage them for, so that, because I really want them to grab it and continue that work through the process?
I was on a podcast not too long ago, and we were talking about the book. It was, and she said what you just said. Wow, Stephanie, like, this is a lot. This is, heavy. What do you say to the person who says, I'm busy? What do you say to the person who says they might not have time? And I looked at her and said, what else do you have time for? What else do you have time for but to groom and position yourself for your greater, for who you're called to be, why you're in the earth? How do you not have time for why you're in the earth?
How? And
then I said, and you're busy, you created. You created your schedule. So if you're busy, you created that narrative. So now what are you going to do to reposition? Because you're saying you want more. You're saying you're stuck. You're saying there's more. So that work is you. And a lot of times we have been taught that purpose is outside of us. Look at somebody and say, purpose ain't outside of you.
It's not outside of you. It's not outside of you.
Stop looking outside of yourself to fulfill purpose. Purpose is you.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson in the book. You are purpose. You are purpose. You are the gift.
I'm going to say that. You are the gift.
You are the gift.
You are the gift.
You are who's supposed to be, moving forward, engaging, reasoning out. Think about it, y'all. Just think about it. Everybody that you know that you believe is living out their purpose, there's a message that their life is speaking.
Yeah.
And it's just one, going back to my Noah and the ark. They just saying one thing. If I yell out names, y'all could actually tell me, right? I used to say, okay, I'll say, what's Joel Osteen's message? Hope. Does he say anything else? Does he write about anything else? Does he engage? No, he says one thing. He just talks about hope. When we look at somebody like Oprah Winfrey, what does she talk about? Being your greatest self. That is all she talks about. She doesn't talk about anything else. Everything she talks about leans back to you what?
Right.
Becoming the greatest expression of yourself.
Yeah.
So then my question is, why that's not you? When we understand what our victories are, where our strengths are, where we've engaged and became in our greatest self, that is your message. So really the question is not looking outside of yourself for purpose. The question is, what is the message my life is called to speak?
Right.
And it is your victory.
Right.
Where is your victory? Then what does it mean? What does it sound? How does it impact? What does it do for people? How is it shifting narratives? Who's drawn to you?
Yes, who? That's a good one.
And when we do that, we're like, what are they asking me for?
Right.
What are they here for?
Right.
Right? What are they pulling on me about? And really investigate that. And now all of a sudden you can put what? Language to it. Now it's time to what? Master the message and then walk in the fullness of it.
Whew.
And my message was identity. That is what I mastered.
You did.
So through mastery, through these 12 lessons, then what people started showing up to me asking, girl, I don't know who I am. Chad, bye. I'm a mama. I done had them chaps. I watch cartoons like them. I don't even know what color I like. Seriously. Yeah, I just do, I just fill in where I fit in, Chad. Girl, I know I just do what they tell me because I'm good.
Right. Right. Help us.
And they're miserable or unfulfilled if they're not, right? Because it wasn't that I wasn't happy. I was happy. I got a great guy.
Yeah,
I got a great honey.
You do.
We've been married 30 years. Love my kids, but I knew it was more to it than that. You know what I'm saying? I knew it was, there's more. What is that?
Yeah.
And now how do I leverage it once I find out what it is? And that's what the book is about. These 12 lessons just position you to start the conversation. Like one is what I just said. So one of the questions is, the room is crooked, understanding environmental narratives.
Right.
Lesson number 2, embrace your story. Accept all of your journey. Lesson 3, it begins with you, not them. Take responsibility for your show up. How many times do we say, girl, if they would just change,
Right.
it'll be good? No, no.
Right.
As soon as my husband get it together, I can walk. No. When my children go to college, no. That's irrelevant. Your environmental narratives are not controlling your identity or your destiny. Because if you don't know what that is, how are you depositing into the people called to your light? Those people that you're saying need to move out the way
Yeah.
are the people you're supposed to be pouring into with your light, not with your work. You know what I'm saying? You don't have children just to take them to school and send them off. No, you're depositing something on the inside of them that is a part of you.
Yeah.
You have those particular children because there is something in you that they need for their purpose. The people in your life, your friends, right?
Yeah.
Knowing the difference between an assignment and a friend. Some of us getting burnt because we turn assignments into friends.
Oh, you know about that?
Because we don't know our purpose.
Yeah.
So we don't know why people are in our space. You see what I'm saying? So breaking the silence. What is your faith in? Overcoming self-imposed limits, those limiting beliefs. Creating boundaries. Stop self-silencing. Leading your impact.
Yep, keep it
knowing that purpose is you. You are the gift.
Yeah,
you are the gift. You're going to have to erase every script that told you thinking about yourself was selfish. And if you can't get rid of those scripts, you will always deflect. But you are the gift.
Yep.
You are why I'm in your space, right?
Yep.
And I know what I'm depositing.
Right.
So I know when the assignment is up. You see that? Self-care is not optional. You need other women. And those are the 12 lessons.
Good job.
Yeah.
So we're going through, you know where to start. You know this is important. We get through the 12. What are your expectations of those who get the book and really follow all the way through? Or what are some of the results you've seen before you get up and do the lesson tonight? What are the things you say, I know they completed the task? What are some evidence or fruit of that being done?
I think the fruit is people shifting and not making excuses and actually doing the work with the information that they have. And that's something that I want to just share when I kind of just give y'all some things that you can take home tonight around that, just what does that path look like? And then really how do I really take these lessons and really start and leverage them, and what do they mean to my space? And so really, the evidence. I can tell by everyone who's ever been in my program. I can tell the difference. I can tell who's using it and working it, and I can tell who wants to use it but won't move.
Wow.
They was in the same class. They got the same lessons. Everybody got the same lesson. And there is a huge difference between people who are stuck and a lot of times we're stuck because of scripts that we have been taught, right? I can say a religious script might be, waiting. I'm waiting on God, or I'm waiting to see what happens. But that's not you're not supposed to be waiting. And I tell people all the time, God has a part of your plan, but you do too. Mm-hmm. You have a responsibility to your destiny. And so many of us, because we don't understand that, we're waiting on God to do his part and ours. And we're wondering why it's not changing, what's not happening. Have you moved?
Right.
And then you go, faith without, they go, oh, works is dead. Yes, and the work ain't his, it's yours. You see what I'm saying? So that's something religious. Something secular could just be environment.
Right.
If this wasn't going on this way, and I say all the time, but if you change, what you see won't be the same. It's your lens. It's your perspective.
It's good.
Right? Have you ever been in a scenario when you just made up your mind, I ain't doing that no more? And that situation didn't bother you what? No more. Why? Because you shifted.
Yeah.
And I get this a lot with my corporate. And they'll be like, okay, Stephanie, I know you're working with people and shifting and changing them, but what about the systemic issues? What about those systemic narratives? And but when you change, it's different. It doesn't impact you the same. You gonna wait a whole 2 generations for corporate to shift? Seriously, you gonna wait?
Right.
Who you gonna wait? Or are you gonna shift?
Right.
A lot of the women that I did with my doctoral work, y'all, those women were successful before diversity, equity, and inclusion. They ain't had none of that. They ain't had no inclusion, no belonging, and they're beasts at what they do.
Right.
And you know what their number one, every last one of them, y'all, do you know what the number one thing they said shifted their life? Their sense of self. They know who they are.
That's what I'm saying.
Period. And then the second piece of that,
Saying.
now listen to this piece right here. Not only did they say they knew who they were, they said they're willing to deal with the consequences of that choice.
Yeah. Wow.
That was deep, right? Whatever the consequences is for me to be me, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
They didn't shift. But see, they knew their environments, right? They knew what was going on. They knew how to handle it. But that last piece, that's what did it for me when they said, and I'm willing to deal with the consequences of it. I'm like, what you say?
And that's the part.
That's the power.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so with that, I want you guys to take that in because she's going to take us through a lesson to kind of deep dive into leveraging your uniqueness.
I have this analogy all of the time where I say, think about it, y'all. For a lot of women, we are functioning off of 20%. And we say we're called to people. We're called to people's life and light. So what's ending up happening? You're giving who? People what? 20%. But the gift, the authority, y'all, the anointing is in the 100. But you're only giving out 20. What are you doing with the 80? For the majority of us, the 80 is what? Tired. It's frustrated. My hands is full. I don't know what to do, how to do it. That 80% must be addressed. And the majority of us are not addressing our 80% so that we can function at our highest capacity. So there's 3 questions with insight. Why did I do this? Why did I say this? Where did that come from? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Where did that come from? And the most important question, do I want to keep it? That is your homework. That one lesson alone will change your life because it's teaching you how to be self-aware so that you can decide what it is that your life is actually speaking. Because we need to understand neuroscience. Okay, y'all, I love the little brain stuff, so y'all work with me. But neuroscience shows us that the majority of how we express and live our lives, 90% of your decisions are unconscious. 90. You think that you're living here? No. 90. That's amazing. I won't go any higher, but people are really saying it's higher than that. Your decisions that you are actually making are already prescribed, y'all. So we have to do this work called metacognition, thinking about what you're thinking about. What are you thinking about? Why did you do that? That's what you need to ask yourself. And slow down. Look at somebody and say, slow down. You saw that deep breath I just took? Because the faster you go, the less able you are to pay attention to what the scripts are that are showing up in your life that have already been narrated. Yeah. But when you slow down and you say, y'all driving down the road, and you done yelled at somebody, where did I do that? Why did I say that? Where did that come from? Do I want to keep that? Is that positioning me for my greater? Is that connected to my light? Do I need to stay there? You see what I'm saying? What does that mean? Where did that come from? Because we got to get to the root. There's a scripture that tells us about how pressure actually exposes How we think. We don't think about that scripture like that, but pressure, situations, scenarios expose us. Because from the abundance of your what? Your heart. It's coming out your mouth. It's coming out your understanding. You got to be able to what? Tap in. Somebody say tap in. Insight. Yes? So the next letter is D for deconstruct. Now that you're aware, now that you've asked yourself those questions, you got to do something with the information. You got to deconstruct that information so that you can make a different decision. A lot of times we see it, but we don't do anything with it. Your brain needs another script to replace the script that you already have, or it will go into what we call default. It'll go back into what you were doing before. Have you ever said you made up your mind to do something different? You go, oh my God, I can't believe I said that again. Did you have a new script? Did you decide what the next was going to be, how you were going to engage in a different way, right? You have to deconstruct intentionally. I no longer wanted that to be a definer of who I was. I wanted to shift and be something different. So I had to deconstruct. I had to look at myself and see where I was, because I understood that when I felt pressure and walls, because how our bodies are created, your brain is going to go straight to the last emotional input that is connected to how you're expressing yourself in that moment. And mine was to tell people off. Mine was anger. So I had to deconstruct that in my life. I no longer wanted to be angry. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so when I was in a scenario, here comes the pressure, y'all. Life, don't be afraid of challenges. You need the challenges to see you. No challenge, no see. We run from that stuff. But you need to see yourself, right? So the challenge comes, somebody is approaching me, and they're talking, and I'm like, and I feel the heat, y'all. Have y'all ever, y'all? Just from my toes, girl. I could feel it coming up. And you're trying to work with your attitude, and you're trying to make sure your face ain't like, And so when I left, y'all, I had the scripture that I would say to myself as I process: think the best of every man. And so as I was processing what they were saying to me, that was the scripture that was in my heart. Think the best of every man. No matter what they said, Stephanie, think the best. That was my script, to legitimately process without defense. And then I would go back to them and have the conversation. Now, if I was in the scenario, y'all, I would be counting 1 in my head, 2, to keep me from talking quick, to hush. You see what I'm saying? So deconstruct. What are you going to deconstruct? What is the one thing? See, we ain't talking about taking over your whole life. What is the one area that you need to do what? What's the first one? What's it? Insight, right? What is the insight that you now need to deconstruct? The next letter is E, I-D-E, right? Empower. Now, how are you empowering your life now with those scripts, with that information? How you're shifting, how you're engaging, what that looks like for you. What does empowerment look like for you? You're doing this to yourself. You're not looking for somebody outside of you to empower you. Stop looking for other people to lift you. Yeah. Lift yourself. That is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to shift, yes? The next letter is I-D-E-N, navigate. So now we got information to navigate with, right? Now I have something to use in my situations and circumstances. And y'all, I give myself permission not to be perfect. Give yourself grace. Look at somebody, say, grace, girl. You're not going to get it right all the time. You're going to slip up. My little wordy-dirge used to come out. Grace, yes. That part. Challenges come to, y'all know the rest of it. They build you. Because now you have opportunity to build capacity for who it is that you need to become. Who do you need to become for your next? Who is she? It's not who you currently are, because if who you were today, who you are right now, y'all, she got you to where you are right now. The question becomes, who do you need to become to get you to where you're going? Because if she could get you there, you would be there. So who is that version of you that you need to let go? And who is this woman? Y'all close your eyes real quick. I know you ain't gonna be long. What does she wear? What does your her wear? Who are the relationships she have? What is she doing? How is she living her life? Where does she live? What is her activity? Who's around her? Right? You can open your eyes. Who is she? Because when you know who she is, you know what you need to work on. That's not the truth that I have in your brain. That's not the category that you've been walking out all this time. And your brain is literally saying, do you want to keep it? So think about it. When you feel that pressure and you're trying to invite something new into your life and you're like, something ain't right. Y'all, it ain't the Lord trying to tell you, it's the devil. That resistance is your brain saying, you're doing something different that is not a part of your comfort zone. Do you want to keep it? Because in order for me to keep it, now this is what's beautiful. Y'all, in order for you to keep it, you literally have to keep the synaptic connections in your brain the same. But when you change, y'all, the synaptic connections in your brain have to die in order to adopt new pathways for where it is that you need to go. So you're what? Living and dying at the same time. So it's asking you, you want to keep this? Because once I let it go, it ain't no going back. I have to literally eliminate it. Y'all think about that. Just how great our bodies are, just how great God has actually mastered our bodies for you to release. It says, I have to kill those connections in order to create new ones. Just beautiful. So 21 days, your brain is saying, you want to do something different. Oh, okay. Around 60 to 66 days is when the habits and behaviors begin to be a part of your life. And they are now what? Becoming a part of your autopilot. Your autopilot is your comfort zone. We are scripting. You're literally re-scripting your comfort zone. Then by the time you get to around 90 days, that's why a lot of my journals are 90. Because every single day you're inputting self-leadership, you're inputting information, you're shifting, you're changing. By the time 90 comes, the synaptic connections and all of that has been built out for your new way of living, and you have now become new in that area, right? Old things are passed away. Behold, there's a new script, yes? So that's the imprint that takes place. So T-I-T, now trajectory. Where are you going? Now you can really, for real, say, because now you're not the same person anymore, right? So now where is this leading me? Where am I going? What is now the new understanding? Then clarity comes in a different way, right? Because you've cleared up those things and those narratives that have kept you away. You know who she is and where she's going and what that looks like. Now you have the opportunity to create trajectory for that destination, yes? And then Y is yield. Now you have to yield to self-care. You have to yield to your own well-being. And you need to position yourself for more. So, the 3 questions. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Where did that come from? Do I want to keep it? Slow down. Now we need to what? Do that inner work, right? So let's say it out loud. What is I? Insight, right? What's D? What's E? Empower. Right? I-D-E. What's N? What's T? Transform. What's I? Imprint. What's T? Trajectory. What's Y? Yield. And if you just do that, you will never be the same. Never. So that is the process for the lessons. So now every lesson, you go through identity and you process. And when you've processed, then you go to the next. Then you go to the next. You can take your time and do one chapter. Well, you ain't gonna be able to do it, but read it through and then take one chapter and then actually intentionally, where is these environmental narratives that need to shift? And really be intentional about what that process looks like for your life. Yes? Thank you for letting me share. Okay. Oh, Q&A. Any questions you have of me, please? Questions?
Question.
Okay.
I want to talk about or ask about the team, the transforming part initiative.
Okay.
And you talked about asking the question, who is she? Mm-hmm. So in that transforming part, as we're doing the work, what ideas would you suggest for the continuation of evolving or even emerging?
Because once we've mastered, that's the level I like to say, once we've mastered a particular season in our lives, we feel a drawing for another one. So that, we are ever evolving. If you're ever stagnant, you're not on trajectory. You should be always growing. You should be always moving. You should be always moving. So transform is always taking place. So after you master or come into an understanding in one season, then you go to the next. And those things will start showing up because remember, y'all, every level that you're in requires a different version of you. Everything you want requires a different version of you. If you want to be a millionaire and now you broke, you have to start working with the millionaire mindset. You don't just start doing. You have to be the millionaire here. Then the habits and behaviors of a millionaire brings the millions. You can't have scarcity and produce millions. So that work of being a millionaire is you have to be and not just do, right? A lot of times we think doing gets us where we're going. It's being. Because the habits and behaviors are attached to who you be, not what you do. Yes? Anyone else? Question? We're good? Everybody's good? Okay, so can we go around and just tell me a takeaway? Okay, what is one of your takeaways?
Oh, wow. Identity. The biggest takeaway for me was the imprint, the process of beginning the 21 days. I love that. And you may know this or not, but one of my favorite words that you have taught us was that metacognition. What is it that you're thinking about? And it oftentimes prompts me to this whole 21 days going through the process of just getting my brain or making my brain familiar with the change.
Right.
And then also proceeding and doing the work so that those changes, and I've seen great results.
Yes.
While something else you said today, paying attention. Pay attention to the thing, to the
Yes.
process. Pay attention to what you're doing, what's working and what's not working.
Yes, because it's not judgment.
Right.
It's
And be
not
kind. Give ourselves grace.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I would say deconstruct. I find myself personally from, oh my goodness, I can't remember how many years ago, from the session that we had in Atlanta.
It had to be at least 15 years ago.
It has to be 15
It
years
has
ago.
to be.
Yes, I have my notebook, I have my notes, I have my folder, and they were so impactful that it actually shifted my trajectory. And so I constantly am asking myself and even others, who is the woman or who is it that you are becoming or that you
Yes.
need to become in order to do whatever you see you desire.
Yes.
So for me, I have been deconstructing and helping others. Why did you say that? Why do you feel that way?
Yes.
Really, what is that connected to? Because in the moment, we, just like you said, the angry Stephanie can say some things, and I was like the angry Stephanie, and had to like, wait a minute, this is really not becoming.
Yes.
And so you need to deconstruct. I was like, well, why? What are these outbursts? So for me, that is absolutely one of the most powerful takeaways. All of it is amazing, but that for me just really hit home, the
Yeah.
deconstruct, because
Yeah.
it's a continual part of my life
Yes.
and how I'm helping others to, well, why did you feel that way?
Yes.
What is the motive behind it? Because there's always one.
There's always one. There's always a belief.
Always.
Gandhi has this quote. It says, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions.
Yeah.
Your actions become your habits. Your habits direct your destiny.
Ooh,
We think that what we want gives us destiny.
yeah.
No, your habits control your destiny. It's a great quote.
Wow, amazing. But that would be my takeaway.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kirkland. This was a wonderful talk. Thank you, Sonia, for inviting me. I found out about the talk 2 days ago.
Okay.
My first takeaway is I am going to buy your book.
Thank
I
you.
will be taking that away.
Thank you.
And so the second takeaway I have is just the questions, why did I do that, or where did that come from, are just really powerful questions to ask yourself, to coach yourself, and in order to
Yes.
make major decisions and to move forward in a positive manner. So I thank you so much. I took a lot of notes on my little raggedy notepad. I made it happen, but thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you've given me a lot to think about.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Takeaways?
Well, I learned this evening that you are a mean girl. What? Where is mom? You a mean girl. Mean girl Stephanie.
Yeah.
That
It
was
was pretty
you?
bad.
But also, like, what was really interesting is how you talked about the thought having to die and the idea that if you don't, like, yeah, that's autopilot, what you're putting in. I think that was so powerful because
Yeah.
you always say die to self, like, and that thought, like, really does have
Yes,
to.
it has to die.
It has to die. I love that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
This is wonderful. I think the thing that I took away from it was when you had us close our eyes. I'm a visual person, so in my mind, trying to see
Her.
and when you said, ask her because you are not her, like that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Ooh, because I often talk about where I know where I want to go,
Right.
but I've never thought about it from the perspective of who she is that's there, where I'm trying to go.
Yes.
Right?
yes.
And sometimes we do look for that externally
Right.
when she
She
is
or-
me and I am her and I should be asking her.
Yes.
Right? So I was trying to, when I closed my eyes, I didn't see her.
Yes. Yes.
So I need to figure out what
Who
she
is
looks
she?
like, who she is.
Yes.
Right? So that, for me, was absolutely powerful, and I got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
A lot of work
yes.
to do.
And that's what's so beautiful. And I have people say all the time, is it wrong that I don't see her? No, you just have to be intentional. Like what does she do? I mean, just ask us, what does she do? Who is around her? Who are her friends? How much money does she have?
Lots of it.
Right? What does she wear? I mean, even down to what size is she? Because her destiny is tied to her personal, professional, spiritual, relational, and physical.
Thank you for having this space, first of all. And second of all of this, I love your suit. I want to make sure I get that out. Love your suit.
Thank you.
But this is just so timely. My husband came home with a flyer from an event he went to
Wow.
for this event. And yes. And so thank you. And to be honest, I was reluctant, not because of you,
Oh, I
just
understand.
because we have small children. It's a lot.
Yes.
But I'm grateful that I came because I find myself, my husband and I both are in this transitional phase in our lives. And I'm so grateful because we're able to do it together
That's
and
a
give each other
blessing.
the space to do that. But I found myself going off on somebody 2 months in a row. And I thought I had evolved from that.
Right.
But these folks, listen, they deserved
They hit
it,
that
right?
trigger, right?
They
Mhm.
deserved it. No, they did. But I know that I could have done it differently.
Yes.
And I know that there were things that I have done and said that I knew would go right underneath that belt. I was going right underneath it, right? And I didn't feel good for myself after those instances. And it made me realize that I am in transition, that I am evolving, and that because it didn't feel good, because of how it made me feel, I'm like, oh God, I must be on the cusp of what's next.
Because that resistance is your brain
Yes.
saying, we have a belief about this,
No,
but you
sis.
told me you want something different.
Exactly.
There's a conflict.
Exactly.
The belief gave you permission to tell them off.
Yes, it did.
But the change is telling, but your change is saying we no longer want to be that.
Yeah.
That's the resistance. So your brain literally said, you still want to do that?
Yeah.
That's the
in my heart.
Yes.
In my heart. And
Yes.
so again, just thank you for having this space because
you.
it's definitely I don't have necessarily the tools the way that you have laid them out tonight to continue on this quest and to recognize that this is where I am now. And appreciate it. So
Yes,
thank you.
it's a
Thank
good
you
thing.
for
Thank you.
the acronym. Thank you. I'm gonna go home and give it to my husband. I'm like, "Do that."
Takeaway is, a matter of fact, I just showed up and walked in the door so I could pay attention to myself. I believe that I've gotten in such a groove with my life that I have not paid attention to myself, and I'm fruitful as I can be.
Yes.
But I haven't paid attention to myself to see what the next is for me. You know, what's the growth for me next? You know, who am I supposed to be connected to? What am I supposed to be doing? So I'm similar to you. And when I closed my eyes, there was no
her.
there was no vision of what I was to become. I just know that what I'm doing well.
Yes.
But sometimes you can just get stagnant in that.
Especially
so-
when you're good.
There we go.
That part.
That part. But I know there's more, and I think sometimes I just come into your area, your space, to be reminded that there is more, and there are more people who need to know who I am, and what I'm doing, and so I'm ready.
Yes,
Let's
I
go.
love it. Yes, I love it. And see, that's also a misnomer, that if we're good, that, you know, well, what is, no, there's another version of you for your next. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to kind of think, yeah, I'm great with this, but what's next? Because whatever that next is requires something different of you, a different version of you. And when you look at it like that, now you know who she is.
First of all, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I am a little disappointed that I had an opportunity to sit next to you for a full year and didn't know that this was all in your belly. We would have been sharing more than notes and snacks.
Yeah, we did our masters together. Yeah.
Okay, and so I have a ton of notes, but this
Okay.
is what really stuck out for me. I'm often talking to women and reminding myself, we know the Bible tells us to take thoughts captive, right? And so many women struggle with that biblical principle. We don't know what that looks like. And so what you said gives me language now, the deconstruction process.
Yes.
Is that process requires a new script.
Yes.
And so even when we are taking thoughts captive,
Yes.
we can't just take them, we have to replace them.
Yes.
Right?
They have to be
And so we
replaced.
know that when it comes to spiritual warfare,
Yes.
we know, hey, I'm going to take what the enemy is telling me and I'm going to replace it with what God says about me. But we don't do that with our identity.
No.
We don't say, hey, this is what I think about me, but I'm going to replace it with what I see when I close my eyes.
Right.
And so I thought that was so powerful. And then just the exercise of closing our eyes and visualizing, because we're so busy.
Yes.
I
Slow
see
down.
you. I see
Yes.
the woman I'm coaching. I see the woman I'm speaking life into, and I'm helping her see her next and see who she is supposed to be.
But she has to see it.
But how about me?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about me?
Yeah.
Seeing who I am supposed to be, and then using that to be able to create that new script.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
it's so necessary, that deconstruct. And this is what I tell people all the time, especially when I go into faith places. It's like, y'all done mastered faith. Y'all done mastered spirit.
All day.
I'm not here to give you more scriptures. Your pastor do that. That's not why I'm here. My assignment, Stephanie Kirkland's assignment, is soul and body. What's the soul? My mind, my will, my emotions, my desire, my imagination, my perspective. We don't pay attention to that. My body, the brain work, the neuroscience, why things are happening the way that they're happening. Where's the battle, right? Because we're spirit, soul, and body. And we have to understand that, we can't expect, sometimes we expect spiritual places to address soul and body issues, and that's not their assignment. That's not their assignment. Their assignment is to do spirit. And we're requiring people to do soul and body work that's not theirs. You have to go to the people who have that assignment. So people are like, well, Stephanie, you don't say scriptures. You already know them. I ain't got to tell you. You don't need that from me. What you need from me is that soul and body work. That's what you need from me. And that's what I tell people. Don't come in here thinking I'm going, no, we not. We ain't doing no praise and worship, and I ain't going to tell you no scripture. Stephanie, can you preach? Yeah, I can do that. I can do. I've been did it for 20 years. I can do that. But that's not my assignment. That's not my assignment for this season. My assignment is soul and body work. Your mind, your will, your emotions, your imagination, your perspective, your desire. There's plenty of women of faith who are hungry, love God. I mean, just sold out. They martyr themselves, but they've never done soul body work. They just know how to quote a scripture, but they don't know how to do warfare in the soul. Because it's not their spiritual acumen that's the issue. It's the soul. It's the soul. You gonna say something, ain't you? I was waiting. She gonna say something. She gonna say something. Go ahead, please.
No, it's bubbling.
Please.
No, I think it's so good. And again, I'll go back to the point that you gave it language and
Yes.
you gave it, we grew up learning scriptures and knowing scriptures that did not work for us. Mm-hmm. Right? And so you could tell me all day to take a thought captive, but what does that mean?
What does it mean?
Right? And so
What is the actual
what does that
application?
mean? So that's going to the right person for the right
Path.
thing,
Yes.
right? And so understanding that is a deconstructing
Yes.
of my thoughts
Yes.
and replacing them with
Yes.
something. And I'm sorry, I don't care what version of the Bible that you have, it don't say that.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't.
But
it does tell you about your soul. And it does
tells you
tell
about
you
your
that
soul.
the secret places of your heart. And it does tell you that, be ye transformed by renewing. It does that, right? And it says from the abundance of the heart. But we forget that those people in the Bible were scientists and astronomers and doctors and lawyers, and they had secular aspects of themselves that they married with their understanding of God. But we keep them in this box, and so we can't see them be greater than who they are.
She said she's not preaching this season. Let me just put that out there.
No, I will. It comes on. It happens. It's just, it happens, but it's intentionally. Yeah, right. It's on. Yeah, it gonna come out, child. It gonna come out. But we forget that we are spirit, soul, and body. You are. You cannot just have one piece and have victory. And if you really think about it, the place of your victory, even though you attested to spirit, I promise you did soul and body work. I promise you, where your greatest victory, you did all three. I promise you did. Promise you, right? So, so we just have to expand. My husband made a powerful point. He made a powerful statement that I say everywhere I go. And he says, Stephanie, the biggest challenge for westernized believers is we read the Bible based on what we're taught. We don't read the Bible based on what it says. And therefore, we can't get out of it what they intended. We're telling them what they're saying. When you put it in context, you do your hermeneutics and your exegesis and all that. It don't say none of that what they tell you is a nothing, not even close. But people are in bondage to an understanding that they only have to do spirit work. I'll fight you about it. Seriously. I will. Because you can have all the scriptures that you want and be stuck. I know too many women who have gone home to be with the Lord with scriptures and knew the Bible from the front to the back. But nobody ever told them that they could change their lives. No one ever told them that they could have nobody ever told them that it was about them. In the book, I tell a story about a 70-year-old woman. I went to a church to do a workshop on identity. And she walked up to me after the session, y'all, she was just delicious. You know them mothers who still wear heels and they just delicious, and that salt and pepper, and they clean it in the Board of Health. Y'all, she walked up to me and she said, baby. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, baby. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, where were you when I was 20? She said, I did everything they told me to do. I got married. I had the children. She said, now I'm a widow. And I got great-grandchildren, baby. And she said, just last week, I asked God, what was it all for? She said, what was it all for? Because she was never given permission to be her. She was given permission to do roles and responsibilities. She never tapped into her, what she wanted, how she wanted to live, what that looked like. She did it well. But she never had that. She said, where were you when I was 20? Where were you? And I'm like, Mama, I wasn't here. You're 70 and I'm 40 at the time. And I said, but we still need you. I said, we need you, Mama. She said, you need me, baby. I said, yeah, I don't need the roles and responsibilities. I need you. I need your wisdom. I need your journey. She said, you do. I said, yes, ma'am. That's you. I need you. Not what you can do for me, who you are. And she said, all right. And she hugged me and she walked off. But y'all, that broke my heart. Because then I started thinking about all of the mothers, generations and generations of women who left here not knowing who they were. That breaks I got in the car, y'all, and I cried. I cried because I literally could see the generations of mothers in church, communion, deaconess, miserable. But nobody gave them permission to do soul work, to deal with their emotion, that it was all right to cry, all right to be frustrated, all right to think about themselves. And that it wasn't about everybody else. It's about you. And you have a right to be happy. And I want to say that to you. You have a right. But you got to do all three. Look at somebody and say, all three. All three. You done master spirit, so let's go. You don't got that down pat, y'all. You live in church and stuff. You got that part. Am I lying? Am I lying, though? We only focus on that one thing. But the other two pieces are needed for destiny. That is. And you can't tap into your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your greatness without doing that work. Because that is what's keeping you from your next, not the devil. Seriously, we give him too much credit. You have to do your part. And you can with my book. 12 lessons.